Okay, so I've gone ahead to populate the navigation. Just a few little things that I noticed. Okay, you can see the distance between here and here is ours is a bit larger. So and then another thing is this is not exactly white. It's kind of a different color. So I've gone ahead to copy that color, and we're gonna go into our code block, and then we're gonna change our header background. I'm gonna just paste that there. You can see that is that's the color. Now, dealing with this distance between here and here, I think what we can do is if we go in here, we have this container, we have this, so this and this, I think what we can put here, we can put a gap in between to push this away, and that gap could be like say 2 rem, and I don't think we should have this padding at the top. Let's see. So we have padding block. So why don't we just call it padding block end? So the padding would be, let's see if we are doing the right thing. Okay. Also, let's do padding block start. So the bottom doesn't have the padding. All right. Okay. So it's okay now. It looks about right. And just that our texts are smaller. So what size of text are they using here? Let's see. Font size 1 point. I'm just going to use like 1.125 rem. I'm going to use my so menu item font size, which is here. I'm just going to use ACSS var text large. Yeah. Oops, that is a lot. Text medium. Still not up to. Now the font weight, I'm just going to change it to initial. Let me just make it 2 rem. I mean, it's the different font type, so it's going to look different. The hover font size, we probably need to set it to be thicker, but that we did not account for something like that here. Okay, so it's something I can add. I can just say menu item font hover weight, and I could make that 500. Save. So I can do a little bit of custom CSS. So I'm going to check the selector for all the top levels, which will be BRX drop down. Then the font is inside this submenu toggle. So I can see the selector here, but I can see the CSS that is controlling the font size and all. So I'm just going to copy that selector, the one that is highlighted white there. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to use that in a custom CSS. I probably could use this mega menu codes for extra CSS. You could go all the way to the bottom. Custom CSS. Let's expand this. You could put it. You could create a different style sheet, maybe in and place it in your code manager. But it's usually good to place custom CSS differently. So I'm going to paste that selector, and instead I'm going to say li hover, and I'm going to say font weight. I'm going to put that variable. Now I could just put it here 500, but since I've already have variables that I want to put everything in one place, so when I'm changing stuff, I change it in one place. I prefer doing it that way. Menu item. And I'm going to save this. All right, so we have that. When we hover on it, the font size changes. Okay, let's close this. And now we see that when we hover, the drop down kind of jerks a little bit. Like now, because we set it to scale in, and that was good when we didn't have it full width. But now that we have it full width, we need to change that. So I'm going to go to the nav nestable element. We're going to go to the top level. No, the drop down content. And we're going to go to transform. This is transform when it is open. Before opening, we want to reset the scale back to 1 and 1. So we're going to have it just open like that. What they did here was like, it kind of grows in a little bit, and ours is not set to grow, but we have a feature that can do that, and it's called the adaptive height. But if we apply the adaptive height, we will need to readapt the styling of our header. So let's apply the adaptive height. Menu style and options. And I'm going to come here and turn the adaptive height to 1 and save. And look at what is going to happen. So it's growing, but it's covering the whole of this, the adaptive height. So for us to deal with that, we need to move everything. Like, okay, let me show you something. If I select this container and I go into place background color var header bg, now save. Let's look. You can see that it doesn't cover that, so we want to leverage on that. Instead of making that a container, we're going to create a new container inside it. Now, all the styles that it had, I think I want to copy those styles. Just right click, copy styles, and I want to paste that style. Now, I'm going to move this inside that. So we still have the same, and then I'm going to change this to a block. So it's going to be full width. Instead of just giving it a width of 100%, just change it to a block. Now, when I save it, let's look at the progress. So you can see that it's full width, but we have the padding from our, header div. So we want to move that padding into this block and, get rid of the padding here. So what I will do is I'm going to copy, I think what I'll do is, those paddings were there. So I'm just going to right click, copy style, and I'm going to come here and I'm going to paste styles. Then I'm going to remove those paddings from here. Even from here, I'm going to remove that. No, instead of removing it, I don't want it to affect other classes. I'm just going to disable it from the, So we have the space M here, and we have that gutter here. Okay. That should work. So we need that background here. So the background was here. So we're going to move the background from here to here. All right. So you can see that it grows. We just need to look at this and clean up some things that are not necessary. For example, all these are probably not necessary. Like this is not necessary because we have just one item here. All these are probably not necessary. It's just one item that's here, so we do not need all of that. And the header block, are they custom CSS that are not? Yeah, we don't have any problem with that. Okay, that looks good. So you can see that the height grows, and it's actually smoother than theirs. It's smooth. It just moves in and out. It doesn't. All right, and we have all this. Now, what you can notice is that the whole of this is just a top level. Now, there is no navigation here. That means this is just for show, like it's just to add additional context to the navigation. Now, this is the kind of thing you will not want to have on mobile, because then that means that these are not just going to be buttons. They're not going to be tab buttons. They're going to be actual links, because here they are actual links. If you click it, it takes you somewhere. That means that you do not need this part on mobile. Now, so this navigation, this tab navigation was originally designed as a tab navigation. It wasn't designed for these to be actual links. But if we need to repurpose it for this, now that means that we need to go in and change the tags. So if you right click here, you're going to see, let's just keep that open. You're going to see that this is an LI, and inside the LI we have a button. Now this button, we want to change it to an A tag. That will make it a link. So to do that, I'm just going to demonstrate how to do that with one of them, just one of the items. All right, so we'll just select one of the templates and edit it. So I'm going to show you how to do it with just one. And which one are we looking at? What we do. All right, what we do now. So this is a button. You see, it's a button, but I'm going to remove that custom tag and just make it a link. I'll do that to most of them. So I'm going to just see if I can multi-select in Bricks 2.0, this. It was a link type, custom URL, that. All right, let's see, did it work? Oh, great. All right, so now we have that as a link. So if we go ahead to refresh this, we're going to see that what we do is, you can see right at the bottom corner here that it is a link. Okay, so that means if there is a URL there, it's going to go straight to that URL. Now if we go to mobile, we find out that when you go to the mobile breakpoint, you're going to have these, the top. You see what was at the top here is now at the bottom of the mobile menu. So we have that feature built in to the Mega Menu Pro. So this top bar, which is the navigation, we want to get the whole of this top bar into the mobile menu. And to do that, all we need to do, all we need to do is to add an attribute to it. An attribute, we just call that attribute data break in. That's all. And when we are at the mobile breakpoint, then it would go in. But we can also determine at what breakpoint we want it to go in. For example, if I do it like this and save, we go to the mobile nav, you can see that it jumps in. See it here, right here. Okay. Now let's just move it like this slowly. See, at that breakpoint, it just jumps in. That means we will have to style it here while it is in here. So let's look, when it jumps it into a container called break-in container. So we want to take that class. Yep, since this didn't have an inline padding, it makes it easier. We could give it a style of padding inline of, now we need the padding to be the same padding that was used here. So this padding use menu item inline padding. So I'm going to go there again and like padding inline is var menu item inline padding. So we want it to have the same, to line up with this. Okay, let's keep going. Let's just go full mobile. And while this gives us that, I'm just going to copy that declaration and place it somewhere. I have temporal custom CSS stuff that I did, a Chrome extension where I can hide some of my CSS while working. Just place them there temporarily. Okay, that is adding inline. Okay, then I can remove it from here and it's still going to be applied. Then at this point, we want this block to have a flex wrap of wrap, okay? Because if the screen gets smaller, we need it to wrap like this. Okay. So right now it looks as if it is okay, but I don't like it. So I'm just going to copy this data break in. Okay, I still have that. I don't know why I copied it. I'm going to select the direct div, which means I'm selecting that div that is the top bar. And I'm going to select all the text inside it. So the text basic, is that it? No. I think I'll select all the links. Yep. So, but let's start by not selecting the links and see if this would work. I'm going to say white space, no wrap, and it's not working. So I'm going to select the links. Okay, let's see why that is not working. Oh, because there's no actual link there. So I'm just going to say, yeah, we didn't have a link. We didn't set them. You didn't set links on them. So that is why. So I'm just going to use the class here. White space, no wrap. White space. Oh, yeah, that was wrong. White space. Good. It's supposed to be white dash space. White dash space. Okay. And this is going to have the flex wrap, the utility UL, break-in container, utility UL, flex wrap, okay. All right, and let's just give it a gap of 1 rem. Okay, and we're gonna go up here and give this a gap also, because we want that's the direct child of this break-in container. So let's just do break-in container direct div. We're gonna give it a gap of 1 rem. So get involved. This has higher gap, bigger gaps, so we could, you know, just increase those gap. We could make them CSS variables so that they can always be the same and all that. So I could do here, I could just say gap 2 rem, and I'll just save our gap. Now all this styling, the context is this. This styling would only apply whenever they're inside here. All right, so that is why we are using that gap. Okay. Also from the bottom, you see this is lining up all the way, and it has a top line. So the top line will be on the, let's see how the top line is. Yeah, it goes all the way to the end, so it has to be on the outer, that's the break-in itself. So let's go there, break-in container. Let's delete all this. This is an old stuff that I don't need anymore. Break-in, border top, solid gray 1 pixel. Okay, we have that, and yep, we need to boost the top and bottom padding a bit for our own padding block. Just make it 1 rem. Now you can see that this other one had a bottom line. Now we're not going to bother removing it. We're just going to go to the breakpoint and remove it, but let's just remove it here to see how it will look. Border bottom initial. Was that on that div? Yeah, in the direct div. So why is it not working? If I say on set, would that work? Okay, so it actually has a lower specificity. That's why it is not working. So I could just leave it at initial and just say important to remove it, but that is not the ideal thing to do. We could use a media query to make sure that that gap, or sorry, that border only applies to the, you know, to the mobile, to the desktop only. So I'm going to copy all this. I will clear it because I don't want it to keep applying. Okay, so I'm just going to just clear it, and I'm going to go in here. This top bar, that is where I want to place that CSS. So I know that whatever happens in that CSS. Now I'm going to remove this border bottom. And in this here, we have the border bottom declared here. So what I want to do instead is I want to say, like, our global breakpoint was 1200. I mentioned that. So I'm going to say add media width greater than 1200 pixel. I'm going to copy this and place there, and I'm going to delete it from here. All right, so we still have that border on the desktop, but on mobile we don't have it. Now we need our navigation to be full screen like this and go in from the top. Okay, all right, so let's make our navigation full screen on going from the top. We also realize that the logo is much smaller here, so we're going to do all that. At the breakpoints where we had this to be 100, we want it to be much smaller. So how small is this? Let's just look at this. It's about 50. So how small can we make it at that break? We don't have 1200. We could create it, but instead let's just go in here and say root. Or let's do it like this. Now, like I mentioned, if you're using the Mega Menu Pro, there is a DWC mobile class that you can always use instead of using media query. DWC mobile root with 50 pixel height auto. So if we go to, and you're not going to see that now. The difference is that you wouldn't see this in the builder. It's only going to be on the front end. So, but if you use media query, you're going to see it in the builder. So you can see that. And the padding, we need to also do something about it because here the padding has been reduced drastically. So we have like 8 pixels of padding there. So let's go ahead and try that, and that would be the padding that we placed here. So we had that padding space M here, and when we can go in here and just say DWC mobile root padding block 8 pixels. Okay, that seems to be, yeah, that's 8 pixels. So why do we still have gaps? The menu wrap at all right, so let's go into that and just take it away from there. Padding inline, no, padding block, let's just remove that. I'm not even sure why this was here, but there was a good reason, depending on the logo that I was using before. So I'm going to just take that off from the ID so I don't interfere with the other headers on the site. Great. So now we have that. Our hamburger, we want to make it like that. Let's see if we can make it like that. So let's come here, and I want to use a CSS. Yep, let's just put it somewhere that we can use. Open our code block so we can see this. First, I want to make this the same line height. So if you go to find what is called variance, you can see that the open icon line variance, if you set it to 0, everything is going to be the same. Then the line gaps, that's gap between the lines, we could reduce it a bit. Let's see. Yeah, they are very reduced. We could reduce it a bit, 0.2 m. Oops, 2.5. Too much, 0.3. Oh, 3.5. That's about it. But honestly, I think let's leave it at that. Then the size, let's keep it at 25. Okay, 25 is good. Now, this is it. Okay. I'm not quite sure if it has, we need to wrap it to have that, but let's look at it. Let's study it. First of all, let's save this. I want to select it and see, does it have an override? Yeah, it has a button, which if we start styling to be, now the color, the icon color, we can change it. But first of all, let's see if we can style this. So I'm going to just say background yellow with, we're going to use the icon size, because we want it to be like, okay, let's just try with, if we say 30 pixel, okay, then we say 50. Okay, so 40 pixel height, 40 pixel display grid, place item. So display grid important. Let's change this color to something that we can see, and then we can do a border radius to be 50 VW. All right, so what if we change this to tie it to the size? Because if we increase this size to say 40, you see that it overflows. So we want to tie this to the size of this. So That is the open icon size. So I'm going to say var calc. We want to calc var open icon size times 2. And we can just say aspect ratio 1 or just make the height the same thing. Sometimes aspect ratio, I'm going to copy value. Sometimes the aspect ratio fails, you know, sometimes depending. All right. Okay. Now this might look like some of them are smaller. It's just a rendering issue. So I want to point that out. I'm going to copy all this declaration. Now, where I said rendering issue, you see as I zoom in, you can see they are the same. The more you zoom in, you can see. So it's just a rendering thing. The sizes are okay. So I'm going to copy that declaration and I want to place it on this button. Okay, all this. I want to place it on this button. And that button is this toggle. I want to go to the custom CSS. Now, if I say root, yes, that is the root. Yeah, that's the root. So if I say root, I can actually place this here. Now, I don't want it to be like that on the desktop, so I'm going to say dwc-mobile. All right. It's only when we get to the mobile breakpoint, but then the color has to be the color background color black. Save. Then we're going to go here. The icon color needed to change. So we're going to go there, menu toggle color. Menu toggle color. Just make that white. Was that white or the same color as? Yeah, I think it was the same color as the background. Let's see if I can still find it in my clipboard. Yeah, I think that's it. All right. Then the hover color. Then the hover color, menu toggle hover color, are still the same, you know, color. All right, let's save this. So let's see why the alignment is. So we have a padding on the top. Where is that? Menu wrap. Okay, it's in the menu wrap. Yeah. Okay, so a menu wrap that needed a padding block start. Now on mobile, we don't need that. So this is a menu wrap. We needed that padding block start. Okay, so I'm just gonna say HTML not. Now this is the Mega Menu Pro workflow, DWC mobile. If you're not using the Mega Menu Pro for some, you use the normal media query. Now, if you're using the Mega Menu Pro, you could use this exclude, say this should not happen on mobile, and then it just will not happen. Great, so it is refreshed and we can see that a header looks cool, looks nice, but we want it to slide in from the top. So how to do that? We will go to the nav nestable attribute again and say sliding direction top. Yep, top. And okay. Now it's sliding in from the top and something doesn't look quite right. So what we're going to do is, but there's a feature that is turned on by default, which is match overlay header width, which I'm going to turn that off. That was designed specifically for when we have overlay header that is not full width of the site, and turning that off will sort of fix that problem. So if you notice, when we close it, it's perfectly aligned, but when we open it, not so much. So to fix that, I mean, the default wasn't this style. The default was, you know, when you're dealing with this hamburger, sometimes you need to have, when you want to make the style not the regular style, like we did it before, you need to make some adjustment. So that adjustment is affecting the default. So there is something to fix that. If we come again to this point where we have that mobile stuff, yep, and we open this, let's also open this. Okay. So we go to that variance. Okay, and then here, now if I open this, here you can see open icon close offset is set to 1.2. We're going to set it to 1. And when you set that to 1, you can see that perfect alignment right there. Okay, so I'm going to save that. So we have our header and a navigation that rolls in from the top. Of course, we probably, the spacings and all. So for these spacings and the line here, we don't want these lines. So we could also do that. If I come all the way here, let's look at that. We don't want the lines. Okay, so menu item. Now we don't need the lines. So we can say menu item border. Okay, here we could just say initial, or we change this to 0. So it's transparent, so that line is not there. And then the inline padding, menu item block padding, we could just bump that up to 2, depending, or 2.5. So if we close this, we can see, we have the spacing. But is that the level of spacing we want? Up to 2.5. I think it's too much, so 2 should be fine. So let's make it 2. Okay, save. Okay, so we could do other stuff, like adding a top padding here on the list. The list, that's the nav element, the nav nested, list, which is this. So on mobile, we could just add a top padding, and I can just say DWC mobile root padding block start, and we could just make it the same 2 rem. We could always tokenize this thing and make them CSS variables. So what I can do is, instead of saying that, we could just say var menu item block padding. So it takes the same value as the block padding, which was 2 rem also. So if we change it, we know that it's going to adapt automatically. So we see, right? So we see that when we click it, it opens up like that. So in our own case, if we click it, it comes in, okay? And things are not looking good because we have not optimized our stuff. Let's do that. First of all, we don't want it to come, we want it to expand. So let's go there. Menu item reveal, instead of slide, we want to change it to expand. I'm going to save this. So we have that. Now what we want is the menu item active style. We want it to be the same color, okay? And this, what we do when it's open, we don't want to see the what we do, so we have a lot to do. It's a lot, right? It's a lot. So first thing, let's change this color. So we're going to change the active color. So we have the background, active background. We want the active background to be of our primary color. So let's see. Okay. Let's save that. And then we're going to do some custom CSS to bring it home. So let's look at this. Okay. For some reason, it's still showing dark. Is it that has to do with the, yep, this drop down active BG. We had a menu item active background. So the drop down active BG is what we should look at. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to say the drop down, just search for active -BG. Drop down active BG var primary. Okay, save. Right. All right, so we will remove all this title. Now, when it is active, it is bigger. Now, of course, that is just to increase the font size or, or scale it. So it's very simple. But first of all, let's deal with the most important stuff, which is the alignment of this. Okay, so I'm gonna check this. Now, we set this to display grid 30 auto. I'm gonna just take that out, and put it in custom CSS. So we want this to apply only on the desktop. So I'm just gonna say HTML not DWC mobile. We're gonna say roots first. Display grid template columns. Okay. So now that grid displays on, the display grid should be everywhere. Okay. So so we have that. Now, if you notice that this is sticking to the bottom, we're going to deal with that soon. So this is not supposed to be on the ID, it's supposed to be here. So we can safely move this to here also. Okay. It's supposed to be on the class, so it affects all of them. So we have that. Okay. All right, so now we need to apply why is it not applying? Oh, because they all have it on the ID. That was a big mistake, right? That was a big mistake. So that was a massive mistake. Yeah, I must have mistake. Okay, I did it on the ID before duplicating it. That was an error. That was a mistake. Right, gonna save that and everything should look good. Do that, do this, do this. Okay, so let's go in and deal with the paddings here and these many tab items colors. Okay, let's see. So this is the mega menu content. So let's go in there. That content acumen here. And we want to give it a padding, but we can't give it a padding on, on the top, the desktop breakpoint. So we are going to say DWC mobile. Now, like I said, if you're doing stuff like this and you're not using the Mega Menu Pro, you don't have access to this, so you have to use media query root. So we're saying that padding should only apply on mobile, and it's going to be padding inline, and we're going to use our var mobile menu item inline padding, because we want it to align also with everything. So if we increase that variable, everything just increases. You can see that it's now aligning. And we also need to tackle this tab. Now, if you ever want to know, just look at it and you're going to find it, you're going to find tab list item color. So, so what I'm going to do is just go in and go to the tab list item color, find tab list item color is white. So where is the black coming from? Let's look at it again. So we see it's coming from the mobile breakpoint. Okay, so I'm going to just open so we notice that it is white here. So why are we seeing black? If you come down a little, you're going to find it here. You're going to find it here in the mobile breakpoint, which was set to black, and I'm just going to set it back to white. So save that, and it should be white. So let's look. Okay, so it looks okay. Now, like I said, we notice that this is sticking. Now, if you don't want this to stick, you can go into the media query, the menu styles and option code block, and change the location of that break-in. The break-in is set to, let's look at it. The break-in is designed to be dropped into the menu wrapper, but we can drop it as one of the list items also. So that way it's not going to stick like this. So we can come here and say break into nav list, set it to 1. So it's breaking into the navigation list item. If you open it, you see it's not sticking. All right, and it's one of the list items. So if we inspect it now, you can see that this is the break-in container as a list item. And it's perfectly normal semantic HTML. You can have a nav inside it, which is normal, which is accepted. Now we have to hide this what we do. I mean, you know, the title, like we have what we do with what we do. So we don't want to have two of them on the mobile breakpoint. So that will be in the tab, like here, the title. So we can go in there and just say DWC, and that will fix it. On mobile, we're not going to see it. Yeah, I think we made a mistake there. Yeah, that is not correct. Mega menu title. Yeah, it's not, it was here. Yeah, this is it. Mega menu title. Yeah, that is it. We put that here instead. Okay, so here we remove it, save, and we save here. Open. All right, what we do. So how do we, make this bigger? So we look at what it is. This is a submenu toggle with a span inside. So we have this class. Now, when this is open, it has a class of open and active added to it. So what we could just do is we could just say we need to target this, direct this, then the span. Okay, so I'm going to just come here. I'm going to just say .open.active target direct, this class, and then direct span, like, span. That's the only span, so no other span. So we could just say span, and we just say transform scale 1.1. Did that work? It actually worked. So, but then we need also to give it we also need to give it a transition property, 0.25 seconds. So if this scales, see scaling, now we needed to scale more than that, 1.5, not 1.2. And let's see another thing. It scales and it's bold. Font weight bold. Did that work? Font weight did not work. Now we need to transform origin. We need to scale from the left, So transform origin left center. All right. Probably the scale should be a little bigger, 1.3. Okay. So we're going to take this and just just place it inside the custom CSS that we created in the menu codes. Yep. I want to ensure that this is only on mobile because this is going to affect desktop. So I'm going to just say DWC-mobile. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Now we could play with the timing to make sure that this doesn't turn to white as soon as we, click it. All has to do with CSS timing. That will take some time to, so let's deal with other important stuff. Now we don't want this. When we click it, we don't want it to bring in this because it's not supposed to. If we wanted it to come in, it wouldn't be sliding in. It would be expanding also because this is expand. Okay, so one more thing. You can see how tall this is, and we don't want it to be this tall. By default, it is this tall because we're dealing with a situation where it was sliding in, and that has to do with the tabbed container. And by default, it was set to slide. So we don't want it to slide. So we can go to the tab navigation container, and we will have to do that for each of them. We'll go to the attribute and we say data sliding. We have to remove true for that height to go away. So I'm going to remove it from here. So we have to do it for all the tab nav containers. So data sliding, we take it away. We don't want it to slide in. And we're going to, let's just open the other ones. I'm going to open container template type section. So I'm going to open where we work, problems we solve. So those two, I think those are the three we did. So I'm going to do the same thing because it said on the attribute, you have to do it for each of them. You have to do that, save, and do it here also. The attribute, data sliding true. We're going to take that off. So you can see that it looks good now. But what we have to do now is just to give some paddings. So there are a couple of places we could do that. So if we want to, I wouldn't recommend doing a nav nested item because we don't want to deal with the top and bottom padding when it closes. So that will be on the tab nav container, and we can just do it on either one of these. So tab nav container, first let's remove this. Let's just take this off, save, and then we go here and just drop it here on the tab nav container class. Of course, definitely that is going to affect maybe other items that has that class, maybe from other builds that I have on the side, but let me not worry about that for now. And so we should have a nice padding. And because we have canceled the sliding, it wants to expand, but we really don't need this. So we need to do something about that. Now we don't need this content. So we're just going to remove that content, like saying display none, the tab list li content. That is it. Now on mobile breakpoints, we do not want it. So we're going to just say DWC mobile. Now there is a trick that we can use to ensure that whatever we're doing here does not affect any other page. For example, I made changes to this. We had another page with a tab navigation, and I did this, and I don't want that. Now what I can do is I'm going to say .acumen. Sorry, the DWC mobile comes first. So I'm going to say that then .acumen, then I'm going to apply that. So if I'm doing this also, li content, I can also do the same thing. .dwc-mobile.acumen root display none. Then I want visibility to be hidden because on mobile I don't want any reference of it. Okay. Now that I've done that, this acumen, not T, this acumen, we want to go to that page that we are looking at this page, and we want to make sure that we add a class, you know, to that page, so that that class, whatever we're doing, would only apply to the tab navigation class in that page. So page settings, general, body class, Acumen. Yep. And we're going to save it. Now, if there's another tab navigation on any other page, that is not going to apply. But if there is a tab navigation on this page, then that CSS that we added, Acumen, is going to apply. So let's go to the, first of all, let's be sure we are not breaking anything on our desktop. Everything still works. Oh yeah, we broke something. Yeah, we're going to find a way to fix that. We're going to figure out what we broke. Let's deal with this first. Okay, so yeah. And then if we come here, you can see that we don't have anything there. Now, these arrows are also supposed to be, because the transform was if sliding is not equal to true. Like I said, this was originally designed to be tabbed, but we are adapting it for something like this where this is not tabbed, you know, it's just a regular link. So we have to reset this, you know. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this, the whole of this selector, and then I'm going to say, let me just come here and do something. I'm going to paste this. I'm going to say, let's see, what was that? Rotation. Okay. Rotate on set. Now you can see that if I paste here, that I don't want it to affect everything. I want it to affect only Acumen. So yeah, now you see, so we're ready to go. We don't have slidings again on mobile. So all we need to do is to change, like we did earlier on, we just changed this, you know, to links, from button to links, and we're good to go. All right, so let's take that CSS. I'm just going to cut it and take it to the custom CSS, additional custom CSS that we added to customize stuff. You can see it's not that much. We're not doing a lot with custom CSS. All right, I'm going to save that. Then let's go and check what we broke on the desktop. So let's keep that open. Come here. Okay, so that mega menu content wrap Acumen. Yep, that is not it. Mega menu content wrap. Yeah, this is it. Display grid, align item stretch, or we could go here. Not mobile. Okay. Align items stretch. So I also noticed we introduced a bug here. So this break-in container that jumped into the list item is causing a problem here. So what we will do is we are just going to hide it, you know. So we say empty visibility hidden, but we should have just also added display none. So I'm just going to copy the rule, you know. So we could say display none. Yeah, so we're going to say display none important. Okay, so that helped us to remove that. So I'm going to copy this rule, and I'm going to go to our custom CSS and add it. I'm just going to remove this because we already have this somewhere else, and that's it. All right, so yeah, so we have two buttons here, and we don't have a button in our own, and so what do? We also have a padding here that is offsetting this, so we would like to give this the same padding. So the padding inline of the menu item, we can just go to the link or the li, but it's always better to put paddings on the link to increase the clickable area. So I'm going to click this. But how did we were targeting, I think we were doing this from the nav, right? Yeah, that's what we're doing. So the link, so we're going to do padding inline var menu item inline padding. Okay. And yeah, that increases the gap. Do we have a gap where here? So did we have a gap? Yeah, we had a gap here. And that gap was on the ID. See why you shouldn't scatter your styles around. When we started, we're just running around doing stuff. So the column gap, I'm going to take that column gap away from there, and I think I will put it in this CSS. It's supposed to be in the UL. Yeah. So let me put that at the top since the UL comes first. Root UL. Save it and let's look. So yeah, so we have, okay, so it's close enough, but you know, there were other things here, like you have the button that we hid, and it's not completely hidden, this button. And when it comes to stuff like this, because this, you want to deal with accessibility, you don't want to go saying display none, so it's usually tricky. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to add a class here called that screen reader text class. We want to apply the properties of this class. Now I'm going to copy this. Now you see, as we added, it's aligning. See, I'm going to copy all declaration because this is a custom element. It's not exposed inside. We can't see it. So we want to copy that declaration. All right. So we'll remove that class. And then we want to copy the class, this submenu toggle. I'm going to copy this selector. And then I'm going to paste that selector. Okay, so what's the difference between these two? The button. I just want the button, just the button. And I want this to be only on the desktop. So I'm just going to say HTML, not the DWC-mobile. Okay. And I'm going to paste that declaration that I copied. You can see that pasting that declaration, it's sort of it closed up it kind of closed up some of the gaps we had because we had something there, but we could do it as a last child. So we could do instead of doing, we can just take it out from the last child so that we don't have to go and deal with this stuff again. So this is li. So let's trace this. So this is the last child of the nav nested item. So I'm just going to say brx nav nested items. Then direct li nth. Sorry, just the last child. Okay, let's see. It didn't apply. UL nested items, yes, direct li, but the last child. Then for the last child, it's not the last child because remember, our breaking container is the last child. So the second to the last child. How do we do that? So let me quickly ask an AI. Just go to ChatGPT or Claude. CSS selector for second to last child. It's all this n plus stuff. Last child 2. Okay. All right. So that's it. So we come here and just say last child in the 2. Did that work? Nth last child. I should have just copied that. Nth last child. Okay, so that worked. So it just aligned that. So that is one more thing we should place in our custom CSS. Okay, now why don't we use display none? Because of accessibility. We don't want to hide that button. We want that button to be present, you know, accessible, because we still want to be able to open it, and we want assistive technology. You can see that this is very, very keyboard accessible. You can see how as you tap in, you can see what happens, you know. So you want to do that. And if you look at the original one, like I said, it's not keyboard accessible. You can't enter the tab, you can't enter the drop down with the keyboard, but we are able to do this with keyboard accessibility. Great. So, I mean, at this point, you can go, you know, we're done. But if you want to stay on and see how to do these 2 extra buttons, it's very simple with the Mega Menu Pro. All I need to do now is, for some reason, I can't resize this. So all I need to do is, let's just collapse this. I'm just going to duplicate this, duplicate it twice. And now if you go to this button, you can see that it's also a drop down, and donate is also a drop down. So these 2 buttons, these are the last 2 buttons. So this is a search, and this is the donate. They're all drop down. So if we go to the front end, we should see search and donate. Okay, but the search is an icon button here, no text. Yeah, okay, so let's do that. We have search, and we have a special style in the Mega Menu Pro, which if you go to attribute and add data is icon, and then you go to the front end and check, it's going to change it to an icon button. So all we need to do here is to come here and go to the icon, select icon. We're just going to say search and select that icon. What is the color? Icon color, you can set it to white. Icon size, let me just use 24 pixel. Now, yeah, I could do like this to see what is going on here. I'm not seeing, yeah. You see what's happening with bricks? Things are not previewing. That is not my fault. Now we don't want it to. Now all the rays are on hover if you check the original site, but this you have to click. So how do we do that in bricks? That has to do with the bricks default settings. So we're gonna go up to Mega Menu when that is selected, and you're gonna choose under content, click or hover. You're gonna change it to click. Now we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to change this to click. That's the donate button. But the donate button is styled like a button. Now we have a feature called last item is button, but they don't work with drop downs. They work with regular menu items. This is why we introduced this extra attribute that you can use to style your drop down items. So this one will be data is button. The other one was data is icon. Data is button. And let's see. Good. So we have donate. Now data is button, all of this, you see. So we have this drop down. We can pop in a search element here. That's all we need to do. So we come here, content, the inner content, we take out everything, and we just go there and say display flex, or it can still be grid template column, just one. Because we're doing that on the ID, and then we pop in a search elements in there, and we just maybe we just make that grid, say this for this, we make a grid, just centralize this, and that should be okay. Hopefully it's blind, we're running blind, we're flying blind. So it's there, yeah, we have a search element. just like this. We have search. So all you need to do is to customize your search to have enough padding up and down and all that. Then for the donate, we can also pop in some stuff here. It's basically the same as the other stuff. Yeah, we could do a lot more, line height, maximum width for the text and all that. Those are fine tuning. So I'm not going to go into that. But then another thing is, this is aligned all the way to here and this is aligned all the way to here. So what I'm going to do is, to make this happen, you have to make sure that the containers are 100% width, So what I will do is, I'm going to come here to this. This from the nav has to be 100% width. So let me just select that ERX nav nested class, and we're going to start working with that. So I'm going to paste that, and I want to give it a border to see what is going on. Solid red, okay, maybe 1 pixel. All right, now we want it to be the width to be 100%. Now it's not 100%. Why? It's 100%, but the menu wrap is, I think we should start with the menu wrap. That is where we should start from. So this should be that. Good. Now it's 100%. Now we want to do that menu wrap. We want to select everything, every div inside the menu wrap, and make it 100% width. Now, because we need doing that, some items are not 100%. We want every div and all the, okay, let's look at it. We have a nav. So this is not a div. This is a nav, okay? And we want to select navs. We want to select divs. So what I'm going to say here, I'm going to say is div nav, okay? Div, comma, nav. Okay, so that will select everything. So this will be 100%. So you can see it's 100% because we applied that. It's a div nav, and this will be 100%. But there is a point we want it to stop. When we get to the UL, now once we get to this div, so the UL is going to be, the UL is not included. We should also make this 100%. So let's say width 100%. Okay, so that was already 100%. Already had probably had 100% width. But what we want to do is to make sure that it stops here. We don't want it to go in here. So we're going to copy this nav nested items. So all this rule means everything that is a div inside this container, but we want it to stop once we get to our UL. So we're going to say is this not, we're going to say, that means anything that you are doing, when you get to this container, don't apply it again. So even if we have a div inside here, let's say we have a div, sometimes we have divs inside, this is a div. You can see that 100% is not applying. But if we remove that not, if we remove this exception, you can see is applying. It's applying to this div right inside here. We don't want that. So that is why we leave that exception there. Right. So why are we doing this? So I'm going to just take this. Just remove, I don't need this. I'm going to take this and just put it here. So we are selecting both. Okay, now that we have done that, we have set a stage to give this gap that we wanted, okay? And to select this button, this button is a data is icon button. So I'm just going to say BRX drop down. I need to refresh that. I've moved something in the HTML. Anyway, so let's just do dot BRX E drop down. Then data icon is, data is icon, sorry. We're going to say margin inline start. We want to make it auto. Let's refresh. Let's just leave that there and refresh. You can see, yeah, you can see that it worked. So we have that. And we want all of this to be just for desktop only. So we will do our stuff. So we'll do our HTML, not DWC mobile. We do the same thing here. So all this should only apply on desktop. See, we go to mobile, we don't want it to interfere with anything. Okay. Yeah, mobile, we could style this differently on mobile. And I think this, yeah, we could do that, style it, add paddings, so many things that can be done. Okay, so I'm going to take that CSS and put it in the custom CSS.